DocTalk is brought to you by Multimin USA, manufacturers of Multimin 90, sure trace mineral supplementation by timed injection.
Hi there folks, welcome to DocTalk. I'm Dr. Dan Thompson here from the College of Veterinary Medicine at Kansas State University. And today we're going to talk about lameness with Dr. Shane Terrell. It's going to be a great show. We're glad you joined us. We're excited to have Dr. Terrell down here from Gothenburg, Nebraska. Stay tuned and enjoy the show.
We own and operate Green Mountain Angus Ranch out of Rygate, Montana. We've been in the Angus business for about 30 years now. We've been using the Multi-Min product for about 7 years. We started using it off the recommendation of our embryologist. He suggested that we give our recip cows a shot prior to putting embryos in. We had a real good conception rate that spring, and we've been using the product ever since.
Closed caption brought to you by AgriLabs, the perfect pairing of performance and value. This segment is brought to you by Norbrook Laboratories, manufacturers of Normycin LA, Normectin Plus, 1%, and Poron, the practical choice for your herd.
Shane, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Well, we're always glad to have Dr. Shane Terrell here on the show. Shane is a consulting feedlot veterinarian from Gothenburg, Nebraska, and he's also working on a PhD here at Kansas State University, wrapping it up, studying lameness and doing a whale of a job. And you've been out in the field looking at lameness in many feed yards and done surveys and all kinds of things, Shane. And so what are some of the, we always start out with the causes.
Yep.
So what are our big causes of lameness in feedlots?
Well, traditionally and through our survey information, we've kind of thought that the big three are injuries, foot rot, and toe abscesses. That are, as we've gone out and looked, that generally remains true. Toe abscesses are probably more once we actually look at the feet and realize a lot of those foot rots are secondary to toe abscesses. They're truly septic joints. But those still remain our biggest three. But probably our two is injuries and toe abscesses.
Well, until you started doing the research on it, Shane, all of us out there in the field, you really started picking up the feet and getting some definitive diagnosis on this.
Right.
And so I commend you on what you've been getting done. So let's talk a little bit about, what you're seeing as far as, what kind of injuries are you talking about?
Injuries are primarily one of two types. A lot of late or longer term fed cattle, we'll see them in heavier cattle, especially this time of year and, as we go into the fall, bowlers, and depending on where we're at geographically, when we see those bowlers, but bowlers are a major cause. If we can manage the bowlers and
again, we have some people that necessarily don't know what a bowler is.
Absolutely.
But bowlers are animals that are being rode by other
exactly.
pen mates and being picked on, basically. We have
exactly.
bullies and bowlers.
Exactly.
And we all have seen bullies in school. We just didn't realize that we were a bowler.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So that's a one cause. Other causes, as we go through, if we don't maintain processing facilities or don't maintain our facilities, we can see some lacerations on occasion. Again, we've done a better job as an industry fixing a lot of those problems, maintaining our facilities. That's become more of a focus, and so that's helped prevent some.
And how we handle those cattle?
How we handle those cattle is huge. If if it's voluntary movement through the facilities, we see a significant reduction in injuries and a significant reduction in some of the other causes, toe abscesses, sole abscesses, when those animals move freely on their own.
Yeah, involuntary movement, probably not.
No.
As friendly.
Exactly.
And when we come back, we'll take a break, but when we come back, let's talk a little bit more about the big three.
Okay.
And talk about some of the clinical signs you're seeing and how to identify them and moving forward in your diagnosis.
Perfect.
It's great to have you here.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. We'll be back right after the break.
This segment was brought to you by Brute Cattle Equipment, makers of the Brute Stealth Hydraulic Chute. If the chute fits, swear by it. Visit our website for more information. And by Lalaman Animal Nutrition, dedicated to the development and production of natural and differential solutions for animal nutrition.
It takes vision, dedication, hard work. It takes knowing who you can trust. At Zinpro Corporation, we have more industry-endorsed research behind our trace minerals than any other company. Proof that our patented performance minerals help improve overall animal health and performance. Lots of companies make claims. At Zinpro, we generate results.
Beef producers need a practical choice when antibiotic therapy is required. More than ever, they are reaching for non-prescription Noromycin 300 LA from Norbrook. Specially formulated to produce sustained antibiotic blood levels up to 4 days in cattle, Noromycin 300 LA delivers economic, broad-spectrum disease management for pneumonia, shipping fever, pink eye, wound infections, and foot rot. See for yourself why Norbrook's Noromycin 300 LA is the practical choice for your herd.
This is the fast track to more jobs and America's energy independence. Advanced performance is here, now. Biodiesel, America's advanced biofuel.
Getting ready to work cattle for pre-breeding and calf vaccinations? There's no better time to use a safe, modified live virus vaccine to prevent BRD. Titanium provides the correct equation for BRD with its excellent safety profile and a strong response and long duration of immunity. Ask your veterinarian about modified live virus vaccines and the 8 convenient combinations of titanium for the perfect pairing of performance and value.
This segment is brought to you by Rotomix, manufactured in the USA and designed for feeding performance in the feedlots, beef production, dairy, and cow-calf operations.
Welcome back to DocTalk. Dr. Dan Thompson here with Dr. Shane Terrell, who's a feedlot veterinarian from Gothenburg, Nebraska, working on a PhD in population medicine. And Shane, you've been studying lameness in feed yards and beyond, and we talked about the big 3 causes: injuries, foot rot, and toe abscesses. So let's jump into what you're going to see out there in the feedlot or on my stocker operation in injuries, toe abscesses, and foot rot.
Well, as we look at lame cattle, they're going to exhibit similar signs as far as there's going to be shifting weight away from the affected limb if there's a single affected limb. So again, as we talk about in our locomotion scoring, we'll see a head bob. We'll see them shifting weight off that foot. We'll see a shortened stride length. As we get more specific, toe abscesses, we can kind of identify some of those lesions in the claw. Toe abscesses, those animals are going to have a shortened stride length, but specifically they're going to be placing their weight further back in those hooves.
Trying to get off the toes.
Exactly. So they're going to take the pressure off of where it's hurting. Foot rots, as we look at foot rots, again, they're going to show those signs of pain, but our foot rot is an infectious disease between those claws. So we'll see symmetrical swelling, which will kind of open up those claws, and so we'll see swelling.
And you start to see some of it above that coronary band, right in the soft tissue.
Exactly.
And start to get those club foot type.
And so again, at that point, that's later than we want to intervene. So if we can intervene before there's significant swelling there, but they're exhibiting pain, that's ideal.
You bet. And then the injuries, that could be.
Yep. Injuries is often a rule out diagnosis. So if we can't find anything lower, some of our stifle injuries, hip injuries, shoulders exactly. If we don't see obvious swelling up high, then a lot of times it's a diagnosis by ruling out other diseases.
So the big ones then. What about when you pick the foot up and you're doing a diagnosis, proper diagnosis? What exactly are you looking for between these 3? The foot rot's the obvious one, right?
Yep.
It's the infection between the toes
exactly.
and up high.
Yeah. As we look at toe abscesses and also sole abscesses, other lesions in the claw, what I like to use is hoof testers to try to put some pressure on those toes to see if they exhibit a quick pain response. If there's pressure in that toe area, and they'll they'll pull their foot back when we squeeze. Sole abscesses are further back on those claws, and they'll exhibit a similar response. Other things we can see that front portion of the outer part of the claw. Sometimes we'll see some raising of that if it's with those toe abscesses. But again, I like to pick up the foot, visualize the bottom of the foot, and look for obvious problems, and then we'll go ahead and use our hoof testers.
Excellent. So we've gone through causes and clinical signs. When we come back, we're going to talk with Dr. Terrell about how to treat these lame cattle and work through some of the prevention. You're watching Doc Talk. We're very glad that you joined us, and we'll see you soon after the break.
Got cattle? Rotomix manufactures a complete line of energy-efficient rotary and vertical feed mixers for feedlots, beef production, dairy, and cow-calf operations. Our mixers are available with the patented Generation 2 staggered rotor, the industry standard for feeding wet rations that include wet distiller's grain. Made in the USA, Rotomix mixers are designed for feeding performance that American cattlemen and dairy producers have come to expect. Rotomix, proud to offer a better mix in less time using less fuel.
Cow-calf, stocker, and feedlot producers know that effective parasite control improves overall herd performance and profitability. Norbrook offers a comprehensive, economical line of pour-on and injectable parasiticides for every livestock operation. Consult with your local animal health supplier to set up a program that protects your investment and brings larger cattle checks this fall. See for yourself why the Noromectin line from Norbrook is the practical choice for your herd.
This hog is head over hoof for meal made from U.S. soybeans. Now, one hog isn't that impressive, but suppose we add another, and another, and another. Before long, you've got billions of hungry customers around the world all clamoring for the same thing. Our soybeans. Learn more about the billion-dollar appetite of animal agriculture at BeyondTheElevator.com. Brought to you by America's soybean farmers and their checkoff.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
Hi there, folks. Welcome back to Doc Talk. Dr. Dan Thompson here with my friend and colleague, Dr. Shane Terrell. And Dr. Terrell is a veterinarian out of Gothenburg, Nebraska, and we are talking about lameness. And we've talked about the big three causes: injuries, foot rot, and toe abscess. Talked about the clinical signs we're going to see. And now we get the calf, that's lame. What are some of the big things on treatment, Shane?
When we talk about managing and treating these animals, to me there's three big categories. If we don't make a commitment to all three, we aren't going to have large-scale success across the yard. And so the first thing is timing of the intervention. Again, identifying those animals in the pen. We utilize a locomotion scoring system to help us diagnose those when they're starting exhibiting pain and not after they're falling behind or not performing or falling behind the pen or after there's significant swelling. So that's the first step. The next step to proper treatment is proper diagnosis, and so that may involve more work than some of us are wanting to do, but picking up those feet and trying to identify those lesions below the fetlock or in the foot. That's where most of our lameness lies, and if we neglect and just think it's a upper limb lameness without looking at it, then we aren't going to treat it properly, and obviously our success is going to be much poorer. I
remember in veterinary school, and they say 90% of lameness is in the foot.
Exactly.
And so you got to pick those feet up. How are you picking those feet up?
I utilize a rope and pulley system, just clipping a pulley above the chute, kind of directly within 3 or 4 inches of that claw.
And then just pulling it straight up?
Just pulling it straight up.
So you're bringing the back limbs forward and the front limbs backwards?
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
And so that's most comfortable for the animal. Most of the time we can put a loop around it, tie that rope back, and they're fairly comfortable and don't resist. So.
Excellent. And then the last stage or last big thing about treatment?
The biggest thing, a lot of these, our foot rot and toe abscesses, a lot of these have some open, not necessarily wounds, but opening in the skin. If we don't manage those animals properly in the hospital, don't get them, identify them for retreatment. If our conditions are poor, if we don't have good mud management plan in those hospitals, if we're overpopulating those hospitals so those animals can't compete for food, for water, we aren't going to have the success. So unless we're willing to commit to all three of those facets, early timing intervention, proper diagnosis, and hospital management, our successes.
The individual treatments, of course, you're going to work with your local veterinarian.
Exactly.
and different ways to treat each one of these big three.
Yeah.
But the three things that are consistent regardless of the veterinarian's recommendation are really quick, getting them in there before it's too late, proper diagnosis, and
exactly.
compliance.
Our cost to treat those, most of our antibiotics we use are not highly expensive antibiotics. Your local veterinarian can make those decisions, but those big, broad categories are very important.
Excellent. Great advice, great information. When we come back, we're going to talk with Dr. Shane Terrell about how to prevent lameness in the feed yard. You're watching DocTalk, and we're glad that you joined us.
This segment is brought to you by Purple Wave Auction, the easiest, most straightforward way to sell used equipment. Purple Wave, straight, simple, sold.
This is Agriculture Today for Kansas State University. There are many practices to help reduce heat stress in cattle. As cattle producers enter cooler months, now is a good time to think about implementing methods to help reduce heat stress next year. Terry Mader, Emeritus Professor at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, is an expert in managing heat stress. In addition to providing ample shade for cattle, there are other ways to manage heat stress that producers should consider.
Some of the things they're doing in the feedlot, they may alter the feeding period or feeding time. We can use sprinklers. One of the really easy, in my opinion, and simpler methods is to, particularly in an area where we have cattle in confinement and there's a bare ground, just go in with the water truck and wet the ground down, and that'll cool that surface.
This is K-State Research and Extension.
Dr. Dan here. Whether I'm driving up and down the roads covering the state of Kansas, or I'm getting between Riley and Manhattan for my job, I'm driving a Ford truck. I'd like you to come out and visit my friends here at Dick Edwards Ford. They have a truck that'll suit your needs, whether you're looking for power with a Power Stroke diesel, or if you're looking for fuel efficiency with the new EcoBoost engine, they got a truck that's just right for you. They're located 2 miles east of the Town Center Mall in Manhattan, Kansas, and they'll bend over backwards to help you. And I'll see you down the road. The Kansas State University College of Veterinary Medicine is a leader in food animal research and education. Our researchers are constantly expanding the knowledge of animal health and food safety. Through the Veterinary Health Center and the Kansas State Veterinary Diagnostic Lab, we provide practical services for animal producers. Home of the Beef Cattle Institute, the college is committed to animal welfare training and research. The Kansas State University College of Veterinary Medicine, knowledge and service for the future of animal production.
Hi, I'm Kevin Ochsner, host of NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman and Colorado Rancher. Join me each week as the National Cattlemen's Beef Association brings you the latest updates in industry information and market news. Plus, each week we provide important educational information and features on cattlemen from across the country just like you. And we can't forget our favorite cowboy poet, Baxter Black. Join me for NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman, debuting Tuesday nights at 8:30 Eastern, right here on RFD TV.
We started using Multiman 3 or 4 years ago. Anytime that you're able to supply a product like this that can boost the immunity system, get a better response from your vaccines, it kind of fits into a total program. We just feel like that the Multiman is kind of a reassurance that we're getting the most and the best performance possible.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
This segment is brought to you by the Beef Quality Assurance Program and the Kansas Beef Council, improving animal care and beef safety for more than 20 years.
Folks, welcome back to the conclusion of today's show. And we're going to be talking some more with Dr. Shane Terrell, who is a friend, colleague, and veterinarian from Gothenburg, Nebraska, feedlot consulting veterinarian who is working on a PhD and has been spending the last few years studying lameness in feedlot cattle. And prevention is important.
It is.
And so what are some of the things that we should be doing to prevent lameness in our cattle?
You know, these are things that we can't overlook, and some of them are probably intuitive, but the biggest things when we talk about preventing those toe abscesses, some of those sole abscesses, and even our foot rots can be secondary to damage between those toes, and those all come about from some type of primary physical injury. So when we look at preventing those and other injuries, the biggest things are how we handle those cattle. Voluntary movement, very few injuries are caused when those animals are going at an appropriate speed, willing to go to those places. Footing's a lot better. Facility maintenance is, again, important. We can, if we have poor facilities, we can cause some of those injuries.
And specifically flooring?
Specifically flooring. If we don't have good traction, any place where there's multiple animals slipping, any spot there's not good footing, that's the area it's not appropriate, and we need to address those areas.
You never like to smell burnt hoof.
Exactly.
That's a bad smell in a facility.
Yeah. The next is good nutrition, good receiving, or prior to receiving nutrition, when we can, reach back to those cow-calf herds, mineral programs, good nutrition. Those are all very important.
So proper handling, good facility maintenance, and proper nutrition. Anything about like pen maintenance, or we're talking about the foot rot. That's it's going to get muddy.
Absolutely. Those are, when we have those wet environments, it changes the structure of those hooves, or I guess the hardness of those hooves, exactly. And then we set them up for other infectious problems with that mud. So foot rots, toe abscesses, again, it sets them up for a lot of those issues.
Sometimes after it dries and we've left those tracks in there, and they step down in there, and they can disrupt that integrity of the, going in there and smoothing pins after they dry out is important.
Yep. So those dry clods, frozen clods, in the wintertime, those all set us up for future problems. So exactly, it's just spending money on diesel will save us not only in the economics of feed efficiency, but it helps us on the health and lameness end also.
Big animal welfare issue as well.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks a million for joining us. You always do such a great job, and thanks for the things you're doing out there in the field.
Well, I appreciate you asking.
Great. Folks, that's Dr. Shane Terrell. We're glad to have him here today. Great show on lameness. We're glad that you joined us too, and if you want to know more about what we do at the College of Veterinary Medicine at Kansas State University, you can find us on the web at www.vet.ksu.edu. Remember, always work with your local practitioner. We're sure glad that you watched the show today. You've been watching DocTalk. I'm Dr. Dan Thompson, and I'll see you down the road.
Closed caption brought to you by AgriLabs, the perfect pairing of performance and value.
DocTalk, produced in cooperation with Drovers Cattle Network and Bovine Veterinarian. For more information about this program or previous programs, go to DocTalkTV.com. DocTalk was brought to you by Multimin USA, manufacturers of Multimin 90, sure trace mineral supplementation by timed injection.
We're cow-calf producers from northeast Colorado. We run about 300 commercial cows and calves and sell them at the sale barn in October.
Since we've been given Multimin, our reproduction rate is about 95%, which is pretty good for grassland, and we run bulls and we do not AI.
That means an extra 15 calves at sale time. We've been using the Multimin product for 3 years. We are really happy with it and recommend it to anybody in this business.